It's spooky month. I mean, it is in like a couple of days at least. And that means we got ourselves a spooky TBR. Hello friends, I'm Rosa. Welcome to the channel. So, it's almost the start of a new month. Actually, I don't know if it's already October by the time this video goes live, but as I'm recording it, it's not. Just like I did last year, I wanted to film my TBR for October with spooky books or like murder mysteries, so it's not necessarily just horror, but we have some mystery thrown in there as well. And also other books that just kind of remind me of fall. So I'm super excited to share my TBR with you. If you want to check out any of the books, I always leave links to them in the description box, both to you as Amazon, but also Book Depository. They are affiliate links, which means that if you purchase anything after you clicked on the links, I do make a small commission. However, you don't have to buy anything if you want to check out the synopses and stuff. So you can find some info about the books as well through the links. But enough about that. I think I have around 10 books because I'm expecting to get quite a lot of reading done in October. So let's start out with my patron's primary pick for October, and that is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I think this is adult fantasy horror. I'm pretty sure it is. So in this book we follow, I think it's supposed to be a family, but we follow a sister who lives in a world that is kind of, I don't know if it's run by the prince, but there's at least an abusive prince. It might be run by a king. Who knows? Her sisters have been abused by this prince for years, and Mara is like basically the only way for them to, like the only way they can be rescued from this prince is by Mara doing something. So she seeks out the help of a grave witch to basically end it for this prince, and the grave witch is willing to give her the tools to do so if she completes 3 completely impossible tasks. And to do these tasks or to kill the prince, I'm not really sure. She ends up teaming up with both the Grave Witch. Who are the others? The Grave Witch, a reluctant fairy godmother, a strapping former knight, and a chicken that is possessed by a demon, which I'm very curious about. I don't really... okay, anyway. But they go out on this quest to basically kill the prince. So it sounds a bit like a dark fairy tale, kind of, but with a demonic possession in there. I don't really know. I'm super excited to be reading this. Also, this book is like tiny. Hold on. So this is a small hardback. I'm just surprised by it every time I pick it up. Not only is it super short, it's very thin, but like, look how tiny it is compared to a small hardback. She's so tiny. So I'll be reading this as the primary pick for my book club, and I'll be covering this in a spoilery vlog as well for Patreon if you want to check it out. By the way, there's a link to it in the pinned comment, and I'm very excited because we haven't read anything adult horror yet. Have we read anything horror? I don't think so. So this will be a first one. I'm excited. The book club's secondary pick is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by El Cosimano. And this is a contemporary murder mystery, sort of. I think there's humor involved, possibly a romance, we're not really sure about that. But essentially, we follow Finlay Donovan. And Finlay Donovan is a murder mystery writer. She doesn't really have full control of her life, like it's all stressful and it's just not going the way that she wants it to. But then one day, oh yeah, she's also a single mother, just to add to the stress. There's a lot going on for Finlay Donovan. Then one day, she meets up with her agent at a coffee shop, and as she is explaining the plot of her newest murder mystery that she's about to write, 2 women at this coffee shop overhear her, and for some reason jumps to the conclusion that she is a hit woman. So after she's done talking to her agent, she is approached by these 2 women, and one of them basically wants to hire poor Finlay Donovan to kill her husband. And Finlay Donovan is like, well, why not? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'm missing the cash. Okay, let's go for it. That's what this book is about. I am very curious to see where this goes. I'm expecting fun times. I'm expecting humor. I am super excited. I've heard hilarious things, so I think it's gonna be a good read. And then, as I usually do as well, I asked my patrons to pick a book for me, but I only give them emojis, no titles, no authors, only emojis. I was having such a hard time finding the emojis for these books, by the way, so I think I ended up doing headphones and a police officer and a third emoji for the first option, which was supposed to have been A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, because I've read the first one, but not the second and the third. I also did another option that was School, a Lock, and a Hand, which was supposed to have been Truly Devious. I've read the first one, not the second and the third, but they chose Stalking Jack the Ripper, the third and the fourth, which was, what did I put on it? A card, lipstick, and I think a devil for capturing the devil. So these are by Carrie Maniscalco. I have read Stalking Jack the Ripper and also, what is the second one? Hunting Prince Dracula? Where is she? Hunting Prince Dracula. It's right there. Oh gosh, but do I remember what those books are about? Stalking Jack the Ripper at least is about, I think her name is Rose. Rose Wadsworth? Audrey Rose Wadsworth. Oh gosh, I was so close. Who loves forensics. Like, she loves cutting up dead bodies. That is the thing Audrey Rose is just really into, okay? Don't make it creepy. Don't make it weird. She just loves cutting up dead bodies in a forensic kind of way, by the way, just to clarify. But in her time, because these are historical fiction, I don't remember when they take place, but it's definitely in the 1800s. 1889. Okay, well that was answered quite quickly. It's not really very common for women to work in forensics. However, Audrey Rose is like, I am gonna do this because I'm a badass. And luckily, I think it's her uncle as well who basically has like a laboratory or whatever those are called, where they bring in dead bodies so she can kind of like outlive her dreams through him, through his office. Her dreams of cutting up dead bodies. Okay, we're not judging Audrey Rose, you do you. But as something's going on in London in the first book, Audrey Rose finds herself in the middle of an investigation and has to work alongside Thomas Creswell because Jack the Ripper is on the loose and there's a string of murders happening. And that's basically what the first book is about. In the second one, they are... I don't remember where they are. I don't remember, but they're somewhere else. In this one, I don't remember where they are either. It says Liverpool, but I'm pretty sure they're going somewhere. We'll figure that out once I start reading it. But this is in New York, so they kind of like swap, or they changed like the location changes and stuff. I read the first two literally a year ago, so this will be fun. I remember fairly well what's going on, but also I don't really remember anything, so it'll be an experience. Yes, but also very much timed. You cannot see them at all. Very much time to wrap up the series because a year. I dragged it out for a year. It's time. Oh, and also they are definitely young adult, historical fiction, murder mysteries with just like a hint of fantasy, I want to say, but not too much. It's just like a little bit, at least. Yeah, a little bit, I would say. And then I want to read Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. I always want to call him Adrian. I don't really know why. Aidan Thomas, which is a book about our two guys right here. One of them wants to prove himself a proper brujo. I think that's how it's pronounced. I have not had Spanish, so apologies, but I think that's how it's pronounced. A male witch, as far as I've gathered. And to do this, he wants to summon the ghost of his dead cousin and set him free. However, also he does this with the help of his cousin, by the way. However, the ghost that he ends up summoning is actually, I think it's this dude over here who's basically like the school's bad boy, and he is not cooperative at all. He's basically like, I got some loose ends that I want to tie up before I say bye-bye, so I'm gonna do me, and too bad for you. And so our lead dude, Yadriel, basically has to help. What is his name? Julian. His name is Julian. Our lead guy has to help Julian tying up his loose ends and getting his affairs in order and everything before he can drift off to wherever he's drifting off after his time as a ghost. But the more time they spend together, the less they want to. Does that make sense? The more time to spend together, the harder it's going to be for them to actually say goodbye in the end. So that's what this book is about. And I have heard so many good things about this book, so I'm very, very excited. This is young adult fantasy with a romance, and I was kind of expecting at least like fall vibes because that's the book cover just gives me fall vibes, and also there's a male witch in it. And a ghost. I think it's fitting for October, okay. I also have some books on Kindle that I'm planning on reading in October, one of them being The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, which is, I think it's historical fiction, but it does have to do with witches. As for the story itself, I'm not really entirely sure what it's about, and I actually kind of want to keep it that way. But as far as I remember, the synopsis is also a little bit vague. But it has to do with, like, it takes place at the end of the 1800s. So at that time, witches had kind of gone extinct. There's a women's movement going on, and we have 4 or 3 witches. Are they sisters? May they be sisters? I don't know. Sorry, there's like a speck of dust flying in front. It's distracting. Okay. And now I completely lost the plot. But they basically want to gather the witches, as far as I've gathered. So I think my main thing about this is that it seems like a very, very well-liked book. And to me, with the whole witchy thing, it screams autumn. So I was very certain that I wanted it to be on my October TBR. I've had it on my Kindle for a little while, so it was just, I felt like it was about time. Yeah. I also had to choose between that and 10,000 Doors of January, which I also have not read. But I went with the witchy one because witches in October. I mean, it's obvious. And then I was actually wrong. The other 2 is just because I don't have them yet, but they are on their way to me. One being If We Were Villains by Emil Rio. I think it's Emil Rio. I'm very bad at remembering initials when it comes to authors. Yes, that is a thing I've learned. I'm just bad at it. But I think it's Emil Rio. So in this book, it's a murder mystery, essentially, and we follow a guy called Oliver who's been in prison for 10 years. The cop who put him in prison approaches him one day. It's the last day, like it's his last work day, and he really wants to know what actually happened 10 years ago. So it's about Oliver basically, I think at least it's about Oliver telling the story of what actually happened. I am not entirely sure, but 10 years ago, he went to school and they were doing a Shakespeare play. Him and 6 other actors are cast in this play at their school. They all have their different roles, but something happens. Reality and this play start to kind of blend together and someone ends up murdered. And the remaining actors have basically decided that they're going to put their acting skills to the test to both convince the police, but also themselves that they're not at fault for this. I think it's a murder, or someone might just died, to be honest. What if they just ended up just dying? And this dude has been in prison for 10 years. Anyway, it's a very well-loved dark academia murder mystery. I'm super excited to be reading it because I really wanted to read it last year, but did not have a copy of the book. And I'm finally getting my hands on one. So it's on its way to me. I'm super excited. Can't wait to read some more murder mysteries because I really don't do a lot of that. But I feel like this is an obvious one to read here in fall. So, and speaking of dark academia, the other book that I have on its way to me is The Whispering Dark, not The Dark Whispering. The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. This is a debut. It's a young adult, it's an adult, not really sure, but it's fantasy and we have some paranormal vibes to it as well. So I'm not really entirely sure what the book is about other than we follow a girl who is deaf, who gets into this like prestigious school that basically trains students to slip between worlds. There's also a dude at the school, a guy who has been told to stay away from her. I don't really know what her abilities are, and I don't know what's up with him other than he died when he was 9 years old, and then several weeks later he woke up again or something like that. But I'm confused about the synopsis. I'm just very excited to be reading it. I kind of felt like a debut and a newer release would also fit on this TBR list. Just to mix it up a little bit. Pulled my own hair, ouch. Even though Nettle and Bone is actually also quite new. But The Whispering Dark is also dark academia, and with the paranormal vibes as well, I feel like it's fitting for an October TBR. So that is also on the list, and I'm super excited to be reading it. Second last book I want to talk about is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig, which I've owned for a while, and I meant to read it last year and then I just didn't. So this is a retelling of The 12 Dancing Princesses, which I've not read. However, I know that it's a dark fairy tale, it's German, and it's written by the Grimm brothers. And I don't mean to make puns, but when you know when it's written by the Grimm brothers or the Brothers Grimm, you know it's gonna be, to put it, like, it's gonna be grim. Because their fairy tales always are. So I don't know what happened with the 12 dancing princesses, but I have a suspicion that they might have died from dancing or something in the story. I think there's a supernatural episode sort of based on it a little bit with one, or like there's a pair of ballet slippers that are kind of inspired by it. Anyway, getting sidetracked. In this book, though, we follow Annalie, who is one of 12 sisters. However, there are only 4 sisters left now because the rest have died. She says, laughing. Because it's so funny. They died. Okay. One day, Annalie is disturbed by like ghostly visions. I think she sees her sisters, and during these visions, she learns that there's more to her sister's death than was first thought. Something about shimmering slippers. Do you see where the supernatural... Do you see the connection? Yeah? Okay. Something about slippers. Very glimmery shippers. Glimmery slippers. And in the story, there's also a mysterious stranger who Annalie gets a little bit involved with. And as she does, she finds herself kind of having to solve this mystery of what happened to her sisters because time is ticking and who knows if Annalie will end up being the next victim. So I think this is young adult horror, possibly with some romance in it, but I could be wrong about that. It might just be a sister story, which is great. I love sister stories, but I've been wanting to read it. This is so floppy, by the way. Like, can we appreciate? I love when books can do this. I love it, but I've been wanting to read it since last year, so it's also about time. We're knocking it off the list. It is happening. And then the last one is one that I was browsing Goodreads for an adult horror because I really don't have a lot of adult horror. So I came across Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, which is also an underwater horror as far as the title tells me. It's got to do with water. The synopsis for this kind of reminds me of a horror movie that I haven't watched, actually. Oh, what is it called? But it's about a group of women that go to this like cave where there's creatures that end up killing them. It's a whole thing. In this, though, we have a mockumentary crew that sets out to make a movie about these like sea legends, monsters. But the crew is lost and never heard of again. Some people think it's a tragedy, some people think it's a hoax. Anyway, a year later, a new crew is sent off. They basically are there to investigate what happened to the previous crew, and they're surprised with what they find. And that's basically all. So I'm excited for this because, again, adult horror. I don't really read a lot of it, but I want to try new things, I want to read new things, and I really did a lot of research to find one that I thought was like, yes, I can try this one. That wasn't Stephen King, because there's a lot of that. Could easily have picked a Stephen King, but I wanted to try something else. So I found this one. It seemed interesting, still seems interesting. So I purchased it, put it on my list, and now we're reading it in October. But that's my TBR. It looks so small because 2 of them aren't here and 1 is on my Kindle, but we're reading a lot in October, I swear. So if you want to hang out with us over on Patreon for the book club and also get an exclusive spoilery vlog covering Nettle and Bone, you can check out the book club by clicking on the link either in the description box or the one in the pinned comment. I'm super excited to be covering it. I really want to make it spooky, but we'll see. It's impossible to film at night in my apartment because it's so dark. Which would fit the spooky vibe, but you literally cannot see anything, and that just makes it a bad vlog. So I'm gonna figure something out though. But I'm super excited. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought. And again, if you want to check them out, there are links to all of them in the description box down below. But that is all I got for you guys today. So let me know what books you're planning on reading in October. I would love to hear you guys out. If you have any adult horror recommendations as well, let me know as well. Let me know too. I feel like considering I love horror movies so much, I should vibe with horror books, but I just don't really come across a lot of horror that I want to read. So if you got any recommendations, they would be much appreciated. And if you're still here, what should we do? Leave a ghost emoji for October, or a skull, or a pumpkin. I don't know, we don't do Halloween, but any of those emojis in the comment section down below. But that is all I got for you guys today though, so I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to hit the thumbs up, and if you're new here and you want to stick around for more videos like this, but also videos like wrap-ups, readathons, bookish unboxings, book hauls, and you know, all the booktube stuff, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button. However, that's all I got for you guys today, so I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!
Oh, you know you're beautiful.